What's up, B button mashers? Thank you guys so much for helping me reach 1K. It's been almost 2 years now since the channel started, and I cannot be grateful enough for reaching this milestone. I'm planning on making more videos that appeal to everybody, while also making more Belmont content out there. As a 1,000 subscriber special, I hope to do a live stream on YouTube sometime later this month, either viewer battles or a first to 10. If you guys have any recommendations for what you want to see, please put something in the comments. This video you're about to see was cut from one of my VODs on Twitch, so make sure to check out all the other social media. Just want to say thank you again. Hope you guys stay safe and have a great rest of your weekend. See you later. So let me go into this. So neutral, the neutral for any fighting game is a subject that people tend to have the hardest time with. Neutral for any fighting game is a subject that people tend to struggle with the most understanding. That's why I've taken the time to come up with the material for this video. It's taken a while. That's why it's taken so long. It's complicated to explain. When you play a character with such a strong advantage state and weak disadvantage, it's crucial that your neutral game's strong, because you can mess up once and just take 50%, or you can, you can send your opponent into tech chase and get like 30% and send them off stage and then just get more damage. So the reason that the neutral game is so complex is that you and your opponent have access to almost your entire moveset. It's not like, for example, I grab Wolf, throw him in the air. Now Wolf is in disadvantage and I'm on the ground. There's maybe like 3 or 4 things Wolf could do, right? He could jump. He could use his jump. He could air dodge. He could land with an aerial. Or he could use, maybe it's a character with a special burst option. His options are very limited, especially because he's not on the ground. When you're not on the ground, you don't have access to shield. So being on the ground is so important. And so if you're more likely than your opponent to win off that interaction. Win stage control, win damage, whatever. So in this guide, in this video, when I mention forward air or fair, I'm also implying bear. Forward air and back air is the same thing. So the main approach to neutral is understanding your opponent's goal and how to counter it. I'm mainly referring to their win conditions. So for example, Mario is looking for a grab to get his bread and butter combos at low percent, and his win condition at higher percent is going to be up smashes. Palutena is looking for nairs at lower percents and looking for things like up smash at ledge, up air, back throw at kill percent. So at low to mid percents, many characters are looking for their combo starters or moves that lead into tech chases or strings to rack up.
You don't belong in this world.
To rack up as much damage as possible. At higher percents, the opponent's most likely going to be looking for a way to close out your stock. So with a kill move or a kill confirm, something that confirms into a kill, which is a lot safer to go for neutral. Laggier things, high risk, high reward, are usually used in advantage state. Of course, most of the tools your opponent will be using should have low lag and be relatively difficult to punish in neutral. At lower levels, opponents are probably just going to fish for their win conditions, but at higher level, people aren't going to be so linear with their game plan. About his fair and bear, the only differences between forward air and back air is forward air is active for 1 frame, this frame right here when the whip is glowing, and then after that, it's not active anymore. Just that 1 frame right there, that's it. And then back air is active for 2 frames. So 1, 2, that's it. Also back air is stronger than forward air. It has slightly more knockback growth. Let's see how far he goes. Tipper back air, he's at the 13.5 mark. If I get Tipper fair, he's at a little bit around the 12 mark. It's slightly stronger. So if you can, try to use forward air more until kill percent and use back air so that your back air is not staled. But honestly, one of the reasons that they struggle to kill is because these tools are used in neutral so much, your opponent's going to be shielding your aerials, and because your opponent shields your aerials, that's going to stale them. So yes, moves that hit shield are also staled, meaning that they become slightly weaker in terms of knockback, and I think percent. So just throwing out your combo starters and smash attacks at kill percent obviously isn't going to work at mid to high level. Against a stronger opponent, they'll be less obvious about that to you. So despite whatever conditioning that they use on you, just keep in mind what they're looking for at the end of the day.
Take this.
For example, Fox's main kill option is his meaty up smash. At higher level, a Fox may grab you multiple times to condition you not to shield. Don't let that deter you from shielding at higher percents, because his throws don't kill you anyway. Of course, it may be a different story if you're taking a bunch of damage from grabs or losing neutral repeatedly because of shielding too much, but I kind of digress there. So, the Belmonts have a very unique game plan. Their normals rarely lead into combo starters. Their normals don't lead into combos 90% of the time. And their moves have a lot of startup. Your primary goal is to minimize the amount of close range interactions that occur. So the character has very poor close range options, aside from up B, and you get smothered very easily. So as a zoner, you're trying to control the space to condition your opponent. You're trying to condition your opponent and restrict their approach. So of course he's very good at covering the ground with his forward tilt, aerials, cross. You can also cover the air to wall them out, etc. His close range options are very poor, and so you want to maintain this distance, probably this distance, like around forward air distance. You don't want to be anywhere closer than that to your opponent. So because your character can't combo, like I can't just go up to Wolf and then just do this. That involves me getting way too close to him. I don't want to just fish for up air combo starter, and of course, as you know, most of his moves don't true combo into stuff. Like it's the moves that you're using in neutral. So most of your damage is going to come from stray hits, just landing stray hits on them. Tech chasing. So if you're, if they at low percents you get forward tilt or back air, forward air, then you tech chase with cross, and you can just take them across the stage and get damage that way. But most of your damage is going to come from the ledge trapping, which you have to win neutral in order to start ledge trapping them. And then also like projectile setups and conversions. So another reason you should try to get your opponent towards the sides of the stage rather than above you is the character really can't juggle because of this up air. This up air, you should never use this in neutral. You only use it, the only times you want to use it is you get them in holy water. You're trying to get falling up air as that combo starter out of that projectile. You read somebody jumping above you, you can take their stock at like 90% with up air. You're converting off of cross, you get up air, stuff like that. So, it's another reason you want to keep them at the side is because this character is much better at killing off the sides than off the top, because up B doesn't kill either. It has very low knockback. Up air is just hard to hit. Up tilt doesn't kill till like 200. No, his main kill options are going to be off the side at around 130-ish. Unless you get like a forward smash or some kind of confirm that ends in a smash attack, then most of your kill moves are going to be off the side. And his hitboxes are better hitting them horizontally. So now let's talk about approaching. One of the most important aspects of a zoner is understanding your opponent's approach options. So it helps to visualize their burst options and how far they can go. So let's say you're fighting Terry, for example. I have Wolf, but let's just say you're fighting Terry. You want to imagine the distance that his crack shoot, his dash attack, and his short hop travel. Each character has, and the short hop. The path of the short hop, we just call it the arc. This arc right here. You want to imagine that arc following the character at all times, because if you're at this distance and you F tilt, he can I can't control both controllers at the same time. But yeah, nairs are important in Wolf's game plan. He's going to go for the arc a lot because his combo starters, fair and neutral air, are based off of that arc. And so each character has a different shape for their arc and different shapes of their other burst options depending on their ground or airspeed. So Belmont's arc does not travel very far, as where Wolf's probably goes like, I'm not controlling Wolf, as where Wolf's probably goes, like twice as far. He goes very far and has a lot of air drift. Like, he can be all the way outside of F-tilt distance, like here, and just hit you. If you were to F-tilt right there, you'd get combo started and just take a bunch of damage. So think of these paths following the character model as you're fighting. So you're drawing like, his arc, the length of his dash attack. If you're fighting Cloud, you're going to have to account for the range of his sword, the range of his forward air, the range of his back air. And essentially what this means is there are options you can't use if you're too close. So if I'm standing right here and I'm fighting Wolf, I should not forward tilt. I should not use forward tilt at all. Because if I choose forward tilt, he will jump over me and hit me because I'm within his burst range. That's what I'm saying. That's what I mean when I say you're trying to avoid as many close range mix-ups as possible. Because when you're within your opponent's burst range, your options become limited. Like, if you're any closer than this, I wouldn't even call it neutral anymore. I would call it disadvantage because your options are limited. You're trying to stay out of this, like, nowhere closer than here. So this is why options like F-tilting or fair from a certain distance won't work against certain characters. Like when I fight Charlie, well, there was a time I was fighting Charlie, I was like this far away from him, and I tried to back air, and he just jumped into me and nared me because Wolf's air speed is just too ridiculous. So here's some generic grounded approaches you should be looking for and how to counterplay them. So first are the grounded approaches. So you have, they could dash up with either a dash attack or a grab. Those are pretty much always beaten with forward tilt. If somebody uses shield aggressively, a lot of people might start dashing up to you and shielding. That's like the only time I'd say it's okay to grab them, if they're dashing up and shielding. Take heed, like I said, because if they're running up and shielding, then yeah, you can grab them. But if they're sitting back in shield, do not get antsy and go for the dash grab. It's easily reactable and you'll probably get punished for it. I mean, if they're dashing up and shielding, you could also forward tilt their initial dash and just hold them at bay. If you see it as a habit that they have, I would of course be careful considering dash grab is a close range mix up on top of that. If you go for the dash attack or dash grab, you're putting yourself in that range that you're not supposed to be in. You could easily eat a meaty punish for whiffing a grab. So, because of his horizontal hitboxes like his fair, F-tilt, and cross, Belmont inherently shuts down grounded approaches. That's why he's so good against Shotos, Ken, Ryu, Terry, Mac, characters that like to stay on the ground. The characters that like to fight on the ground. Because he's just so good. He's got multiple tools to cover the ground with. Because Belmonts are so good at covering the grounded approach, their kit will prompt opponents to approach in the air. So, especially mid-level players, they're going to be jumping in on you. They're constantly going to be approaching via the jump in, via the arc. And the lower mid-level Belmonts are not very good at covering this. They're going to try and jump in. The best players will kind of mix up that, because the opponent can still approach on the ground if you call out an aerial approach. So if you're fighting a faster character like Joker, you go like this, the Joker could run under your aerial and probably grab you upon your landing. If you're too close. Next to the aerial approaches, they're a bit trickier to punish. So that's because aerial moves are typically safer on shield, and the Belmonts can struggle to cover them sometimes because they have kind of a blind spot above 45 degrees if they have a high jump height. If you're fighting Falco or Greninja, they can jump into your blind spot. So first of all is the short hop arc, the short hop fast aerial, because they're quickly trying to get over your F-tilt while you're F-tilting and just punish you for throwing that out. So, the short hop fastfall aerial, the opponent will most likely want to jump over your zone and hit you as quickly as possible. This will be one of the most typical approaches at higher level. These are the few things, there are some few things that you can go for if you react or you predict it, depending on the speed of the character. So, the counterplay, one counterplay is just stuffing the jump with a forward air. I can't even time it right now. You can retreat with a back air. This is much harder to land against characters with a quick jump squat like Fox, or good airspeed like Wolf or Joker, in which case you might get stuffed out. So, depends on who you're fighting. If you're fighting like Incineroar, it's a really good idea. If you're fighting a faster character, it might not be such a good idea, stuffing out their jump. If you're fighting Greninja, it might not be a good idea to stuff out their jump, just because they're so fast. Most important thing is, do not... Sorry, I don't mean jump squat. I mean like their jump speed. Every character has a 3-frame jump squat. I meant like, how quickly they get up in the air. So, these two characters don't have the same... They actually have roughly the same jump height. But, one gets in the air faster than the other. Their fall speeds are different. Things like that. Stuffing out their jump doesn't mean making them jump. It means punishing them for jumping. Very important thing is you want to retreat with aerials 90% of the time. Do not jump towards your opponent with aerials. Like, you want to limit how many times you jump towards your opponent. When I watch mid-level players, like 90% of their mistakes in neutral come from jumping towards the opponent, whether it's with fair or nair. I'll get to nair in a second. Do not jump towards your opponent with nair. Do not do that. You want to use... The main purpose of using nair neutral is if you're already close to your opponent and you think that your opponent is going to do something like this. Yeah, you're assuming that he's going to jump towards you when he's already close to you. Nair is an option you should use when your opponent's already close to you. So next, you could go for up B out of shield. It comes out frame 6. It has invincibility on startup. And the best thing about it that I think a lot of people forget is that it deals 17% unstaled. However, this won't work against a few things. You have to be very good at reacting with this move, because this won't work against opponents who space their aerials correctly. So let's say the wolf goes like this. He drifts back and puts his foot out while retreating. It makes it like you basically cannot up B him if he does that. But if you notice, the catch is, for Wolf to do this, he has to full hop. He can't short hop. He has to full hop, which makes it very reactable. You can tell that he's going to do that. But you have to have a very quick reaction. So you have to practice reacting to aerials with up B, which we'll discuss later. But this won't work on aerials if they space them correctly, or the move is just too safe, like -3 on shield, -4 on shield, because his up, and assuming that they time it correctly, because Belmont's up B is comes out frame 6. Spacing a F tilt or fair is solid against characters with low range and airspeed. So if you think that they're going to jump towards you, you can retreat and forward tilt. Usually use the pivot F tilt. Against faster or longer range characters like Cloud, it's more difficult to space against disjointed or landing aerials. In that case, you could go for Nair, which would combo into fair or tech chase, but like I said, it's high risk reward since you'll be in your opponent's face if you whiff it. You'll be in that mix-up range if they decide to shield and do nothing, or you miss the aerial. So what you could do is you could full hop it because it allows you to jump away, but you're burning your double jump, so it's kind of a pick your poison. So next is the full hop, which is more of a mix-up. People usually aren't going to full hop in on you, but they might. Same thing. You could. I'll get to that. I'm not there yet. You could also stuff out their jump, but it's reactable. A lot of the same tools apply. If you're comfortable with your opponent's jumping habits, you can run under them and forward tilt. So if I think Wolf's going to full hop towards me, this is really good with characters with high jump height and characters with a lot of airspeed, like Wario, Wolf, Greninja. You can just run under them and forward tilt them the other way. It's high risk, high reward, depending on the situation. It's really good if you're in the corner, because you can be in the corner F tilting. You're in the corner, and that might prompt them to jump over you, and you hit them the other way, and then you hit them off stage, and you start ledge trapping them. So many Belmonts struggle to deal with double jumping. Some people might approach you with double jumping because they're in your blind spot, and they can choose whether to attack. They might even just like air dodge. They might bait out your up B like that. So if the opponent puts themselves in your blind spot, you cannot swat them away with forward air. Do not try and up air them. It's risky to go for up B out of shield because they might use a safe aerial or even a command grab. Like you're fighting Bowser or Yoshi, they'll land on you with a command grab. The best way to do this is to dash attack under their landing. This is the main use of dash attack in neutral because it hits above you. So if you think your opponent is going to double jump, you can just dash attack under their landing. It beats air dodge, it beats command grab, it beats most aerials because it's disjointed above your head. It's actually pretty underrated. It beats almost every option, and if it whiffs, let's just say they air dodge behind you, you'll be safe because you're far away from them. And again, it beats command grabs, air dodges, and most landing aerials. Regarding the safety of aerials, when you go for up B out of shield, there's a variety of things that you have to consider and react to in order to avoid whiffing the move and eating a huge punish. So, first of all, what's the frame advantage on shield? Ultimate Frame Data is a super useful website that tells you, what the frame data is of every move. And the number that it gives you, say -3 on shield, it'll list for Polyptanus forward air. In case you don't know what that means, it's the number of frames the defender can act before the attacker when the attacker uses a move on shield. The number only applies if the aerial is used at the last possible frame before touching the ground. Poke nairs like Terry and Link, you can up B them out of shield even though the website says they're -2 on shield. And that's because poke nairs that are used well before landing on top of your shield are actually not -2. Again, that is assuming that the aerial comes out right when you're about to land. But a lot of the poke nairs, like Link will start his nair high above your head and then land on you with it, with the soft hit. If they use the soft hit, you can up B it. Just like Wolf, Link, Link Nair, Terry, etc., etc. If the opponent uses a short hop fastfall, they most likely won't have enough air acceleration to space the move correctly. Like I was talking about earlier. If they full hop, they can drift back with their aerial and space it. Even if the aerial is -6 on shield, you may also have to consider whether they cross you up. So, you know, he could land behind you, and in that case, you'd have to B reverse the up B. You have to be able to react to all of these and decide whether to up B or not. So if a safe aerial lands on your shield, you have to go into a close quarter mix-up, which is what we're trying to avoid. Of course, if you work on parrying aerials, it will allow you more time to react, or even use a move like down tilt out of shield also. About jumping, the Holy Water can be used to catch a landing or stop a grounded opponent from approaching. But the bottle can also be shielded or caught, so be careful when you use it. But yeah, those are the main factors. What is it on shield? Is it safe on shield? Did they space it correctly? And did they cross me up? You have to like be able to decide on the dime, like within milliseconds, whether it's smart to up B or not, which is why I don't use up B that much online, because it's harder to react. So now, this is important, close range interactions. Let's talk about what happens when your opponent does get in your face. So first of all, don't panic if the opponent just starts mashing on your shield. You have to pay attention to what your opponent starts doing when they get close to you. If they use a lot of aerials, then you can just sit in shield and look for an up B opportunity. If they undershoot their moves, then you can try running away. If they chase after you, throwing out a down tilt or forward tilt will just beat out their dash towards you. You can also jump away with an aerial. Let's just say they try and grab you, or they spot dodge. A lot of people will spot dodge or try and shield or try and grab, stand and grab. If you're right here, so it's retreating aerial like that, or retreating forward tilt. And again, if they think you're gonna forward tilt, they could just jump and then you look for uppy out of shield. Same thing applies. So I just call it turtling. So, you know, let's just say, okay, Wolf's close to me. First time this match, somebody I've never played before. I'm just gonna like turtle when they get close to me. I'm gonna just wait for the opportunity to uppy, and I'll just do that until they start grabbing me. Oh, you're gonna grab me? Now I'll jump. Oh, but now they read that I'm jumping away, and the wolf starts going like this, like he's gonna catch my jump. Then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna turtle up again, and the whole cycle starts over again. Those are what your main options are. So you can jump away with an aerial to beat a grab attempt, but you'll lose to an aerial that you could have shielded. You can even grab your opponent if they like to shield when they get close to you. It mostly depends on what your opponent's tendencies are. Everybody does something else. A lot of Nest players will try and forward air when they're near you, so don't jump away on them. Mario's going to try and grab you. Then it's okay to jump away from them, because if you get hit by a stray back air, it's not going to combo into anything. So think about like the character you're fighting and what they're going to get off of what, and use that to consider whether it's a smart idea to turtle up, jump away, be aggressive, or even grab them. So now I want to talk about passive opponents. This is something that people tend to struggle with. On the topic of understanding what your opponent's approach options are, you have to familiarize yourself with how often they approach. Some of them are more patient than others. And since Belmont can't really approach, you have to out-patience your opponent in every aspect of the match. As some may be perfectly content with just sitting back and doing nothing and shield, especially if they have the lead. So at some point, you're either going to have to approach, bait one from them, or bait one from them. So here are some interactions. So retreating. Let's just say your opponent's retreating. Either by walking away, jumping away, or either of the two. So if you read this, you can use an advancing forward tilt towards them, or you can chase after them with a back air. It's kind of risky if you buffer it. Of course, if they sit back and shield that and don't run away, then you'll eat a big punish for that. Some of the safer options you have are approaching with shield. Using cross is really good too. If Wolf is just sitting here, then you want to space the cross right in front of him and poke through it. And that'll give you a safe poke that they can't punish, unless they decide to jump over it. So put the cross right in front of them, and if they shield it, you get a free hit. Of course, if you space yourself close enough like that. Assuming that they're not going to jump over it. If they jump over it, well, that was kind of a dumb idea of them. Who's going to jump over the cross? Because then they might get sandwiched, which is they're going to be in a bad spot. Let's say you're fighting a projectile character, which we'll talk about more when discussing fighting other zoners. A solid amount of moves like Wolf Laser, Joker Side B, Palutena Neutral Special can be punished at a shield at a certain distance, so you can approach a shield and react. Let's just say he's doing his neutral B. So what you can do is you can just run up shield. And while he's still in lag, you can down angle fair, and he's still in lag as he gets hit. You have enough time that's a true punish. You have enough time to just hit him for shooting lasers at you. So a legitimate strategy against Palutena who's using neutral B, Wolf who's using neutral B, a lot of characters like that who have a lot of lag, you can just run up, shield, and down angle fair. Not going to work on certain characters like some of Rob's specials, Young Link, Mega Man, because their characters' projectiles are just too fast. So rather than running away, some opponents will simply sit and shield. The most important thing to keep in mind is you cannot get impatient and just start going for dash attack or dash grab. They're easily reactable and super unsafe if the opponent ends up calling that out. You're going to be you shouldn't be going for a close range mix-up just for the sake of mix-up. You're going against your main game plan. So you're essentially falling into their trap. You're playing their game plan of making you get impatient and breaking your own zone. You're breaking your own zone by doing this. You do not want to approach them like that. So there's a few ways you can handle the situation. Like I said earlier, you can throw the cross and poke them through it, which I was using when I was playing offline yesterday, and it was actually helping a lot against somebody who I was playing who was shielding a lot. You can play safe and dash in front, kind of dash dance in front of them to bait out a response if you know they're behaving that way. Bait a response and gain information about what they did. So let's just say you ran towards them, they spot dodged. Next time you can punish the spot dodge. Let's just say you ran towards them, they roll. You can go back and go like that. Just gaining information. More aggressive options, including advancing with a landing aerial and F-tilt, can be okay if you know they're not going to go towards you. Again, you're trying to aim for where they are going to be, not where they are. If you know that they like to sit there, then it's okay. If you have a feeling they're going to move after it, then you can kind of bait it out. And again, you can also use retreating cross to condition them to either keep shielding or jump. The issue with stage control and with punishing, so as I already mentioned, buffering fair and nair towards the opponent is like a significant risk, because not only are you breaking your own zone, but you're putting yourself in enough lag for the opponent to easily hit you. Like if you go like this and he shields it, he can shield grab you. It's that unsafe. Buffered aerials, because you have to wait until you land on the ground to shield or to do anything. So most of the time I see Belmont players, including myself, make that mistake in neutral for using that move, for going towards the opponent with an aerial like this, unless you're punishing a retreat or a landing or a projectile. But 90% of the time you're using an aerial, you should be retreating. But then, okay, using the retreating aerials makes them more safe, but they come with the cost of stage control. So again, you have to be aware. Okay, so what's happening is I'm retreating, but then I end up cornering myself. And that's another problem that a lot of mid-levels have, is they end up just cornering themselves and putting themselves in disadvantage because you cannot retreat anymore. There's a few things that you can do to combat that, to deal with that. You have to be aware of how often they like to approach you. And that kind of depends on the matchup itself. So think of this spectrum between they're constantly holding forward. They're always holding towards you. They're just jumping towards you, dash attacking towards you. They're just holding W. And then on the other side of the spectrum, you have they're just sitting there in shield, doing nothing and just respecting you. You want to try and learn where your opponent is on that spectrum. Do they like to be aggressive? Do they like to be defensive? Are they somewhere in between? Do they have patterns? Do they like to dash back and forth and then jump in? Do they like to dash back and forth twice and shield and then jump? Do they empty hop a lot? What are they? Your opponent will have a tendency somewhere on that spectrum, and you need to use the info you gained during the match to figure that out. So many people also have like a rhythm or sequence of dashes, like I mentioned earlier. Don't feel scared to retreat though, because once you do land that stray hit, you'll be able to take them across the stage. You'll take all your space back and have an opportunity to tech chase. So to avoid cornering yourself, you have to learn how much they like to approach you, and you can also create. You can also mix in circle camping. That's another way to avoid cornering yourself, is circle camping. And when I say circle camping, it's like breaking their ankles. You can olay them. You can run under. If you can run under, roll through, or jump over your opponent, that can just reverse the situation or avoid cornering yourself. But it is kind of high risk, so that's kind of up to you. Also, cross is really good for gaining stage control, because it'll condition opponents with auto reflector to either jump or shield. So if I throw it right here, he has to jump or shield. If he jumps over it, though, of course, I can just throw out a forward air and hit him for jumping. Hey, what's up? But most people are going to shield it. Most people are not going to be dumb enough to just jump over it. But if they shield it, all that space right there is yours. You can just run and take all of that. That's how you get your stage control back without cornering yourself, is by throwing the cross. And you just take it at little increments at a time,
and, you know, kind of retreat, aerial, and then take your space back. Did they jump? Or sorry, yeah, did they jump? You kind of deny that space and take your space back. And it's kind of like a cycle of that until you end up getting that stray hit and taking them to the ledge. And also make sure you're visualizing the arc that I mentioned earlier so you don't get punished for throwing it too close to the opponent. Here's probably the safe distance, the best distance you should throw it against Wolf, right here. If they do have a reflector, you want to throw it just outside of his range, because if he decides to reflect it or try to reflect it, you can just hit him for trying to reflect it. And like I said, if he's shielding, you get a free poke. So that's what cross is really good for. So parrying, higher level opponents who are more comfortable with the matchup might start parrying your whip attacks. So there's a few solutions to this. You can throw off their timing by either using landing aerials without fast falling or empty hopping. So instead of just going like this, it makes it a little bit predictable. You could just full hop, not fast fall, or just not fast fall, and that little delay will throw off their timing. Or you could just empty hop and go like this, and it'll also throw off their timing. You know, empty hop aerial, empty hop forward tilt, anything like that. You could also do double, but that's kind of risky, especially. Well, I would only recommend using that in the corner. So higher commitment options, you could tomahawk grab, which again is pretty reactable, because they're like, oh, he's jumping towards me. What could he possibly? Why would he be doing that? Oh, he's gonna grab me, and then they'll just spot dodge. So another really good thing you could do is this: you cross up their shield with nair. This is the one time I'm saying it's okay to nair. If you're trying to get out of the corner or something, if you're stuck in the corner, a good option might be to cross them up with nair, especially if they don't have any out of shield options behind them. When you use the nair, don't fast fall it, because you want them to have to shield all the hits as you slowly fall down. Because if you fast fall it, then they don't have to keep their shield up for as long. But if you slowly fall with it, they have to shield all the hits, and they might drop shield during the middle of that. Also, it can confirm into an up E, which will give you like 20% damage if you land it. Let's see. Next is we're almost done. Good. Next is versus other zoners. Against the common misconception is that Belmont is capable of camping when he's not. The truth is that his projectiles have way too much startup to be the main contributors to his damage in neutral. However, the cross specifically is great against characters like Pac-Man and Duck Hunt because it goes through all of their tools, their projectiles. The cross is the main projectile you're using in neutral. Holy Water, occasionally, Axe do not use in neutral whatsoever. It's better to use the whip though, because it's the cross gets easily negated by projectiles. If you're fighting Young Link, Mega Man, Banjo, the eggs, the lemons, and the arrows just send it right back. It's practically useless unless you send it in the other direction, which I mentioned before, cannot be reflected and goes through projectiles. But again, if they know that you're trying to do that, Mega Man will just keep shooting lemons at you while you're trying to throw the cross the other way, and you won't even be able to throw it. So you're gonna have to rely on the shield and the whip a lot. So if it's laggy, you can shield it, down angle fair out of shield. If not, you're gonna have to angle above or below the projectiles. Remember that a lot of them are linear. You can even angle it through them. But yeah, the best way is if you think they're gonna shoot a projectile on the ground, like Rob shoots his gyro, you can jump. You can call out Rob's gyro, the jump, preemptively jump. You see him using the gyro, then you land, and then down angle fair him for using the gyro and punish his end lag. But on the other hand, the opponent could start punishing your jumps. He could read your jump in and start hitting you. So you're gonna have to adapt and whiff punish them as if they were a rush down character. So maybe you go like this, and then you punish his attempt to punish your jump if you think he's gonna jump in. That's the mental game of it. So downloading and adapting to the opponent. Since winning neutral is arguably the most important thing towards winning a match, being able to adapt quickly is incredibly important. Playing against somebody you've never played before is much different than your friend who you fought like 15 times in bracket. So in that case, you have to start from scratch. So compared to creating like a model or a sculpture or something, I'm making a cheesy example here. You're starting with a model or a sculpture that, you start from a base shape, like a sphere, and you start modifying it over time. So you want the basic idea of how your opponent should play as you gain information from each interaction to begin predicting how they'll act in situations that you haven't seen before. So once you get a better understanding of your opponent, then you can go for some of the riskier options that I mentioned earlier, like running under them, nairing towards them, etc. Or going for grabs. You kind of start with the character tendencies. What does the character want to do? What does the character like to do? And then as you start seeing, Wolf got close to me. He didn't go for his nair like I thought he would. He grabbed me instead. You know, then you start changing your game plan to that. Or, you know, maybe he likes to shield a lot more, and he likes to play more defensive. So then you get an air dodge read on him because it turns out he's a more defensive player. Again, Fatality made some other funny analogy where it was like, it's like you're solving a jigsaw puzzle. Like, I don't have to have all of the pieces to tell that it's a picture of a dog or a picture of a motorcycle. Yet, right? You don't need all the pieces of the puzzle to tell what's going to happen. So you're using the information from previous situations to make, you know, assumptions about what's going to happen in a situation that's never happened before. When you see a high level or top tier character play a high level, you can tell who's using the character just by how they're playing them. But with this character, yeah, that exists, but not to a higher degree because his tools are very limited. Most Belmonts should be playing roughly the same way. Your main neutral tools are going to be forward tilt for stopping grounded approaches, catching landings on characters that don't have very much airspeed or range. His back air and his forward air. Very good at stuffing aerial approaches. Also can be used to hit grounded approaches, shield pressure, safe poke, stuff like that. Cross is going to be used to condition the opponent to jump or shield depending on how they're reacting to it. Also your main way of getting stage control back. Dash attack. Dash attack is going to be used to catch opponents' landings, especially if they like to use double jump above you. You can dash attack under their aerial. Holy Water, mainly used to kind of just slow down the pace of the match. Make your opponent kind of back off. Occasionally Nair, but I wouldn't really recommend that. Only if you're already close to them. Sometimes grabbing if they're dashing with shielding. That's about it though. Like there's only maybe like 5 or 6 different moves you should be using in neutral. That's kind of it.
Like, it reminds me of this. This is a character in Belmont that should be edge-guarded rather than... Oh my god!
Dude, that was disgusting.
Oh! It's so good, but down here it does miss. But unfortunately, unable to find a punish right there. Oh my god. As long as Nino's sorting had that break.
Wow, he picked it up? Oh my lord.
Hits him with the initial holy water and then with the blast of the holy water. And hits him with another holy water. Knows where he's gonna go. And
Oh my. I see this.